Imagine a book that was not written, but summoned, a text that does not seek to please the flock, but to awaken the sleeping lion. What you are about to hear is no mere text. It is a cry from the depths of the human soul, a manifesto etched in fire, blood, and unbreakable will. The gospel of dominion is not for the lukewarm, nor for those who seek comfort in borrowed dogmas. It is for those who feel they were born for more, for the ones whose spirit refuses to be chained. Aleister Crowley, the great magician, the herald of the eon of Thelema, delivers here a fiercely illuminating work, where every word is a dagger, and each paragraph a key unlocking forgotten chambers of the self. Prepare to cross the threshold into a gospel that does not preach submission, but sovereignty, a path where dominion is not oppression, but mastery of the self. This is the voice of one who rises from the ruins and declares, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Take a deep breath and listen. For when the soul awakens, there is no turning back. The world you know is ruled by shadows, by wills you do not see, by invisible fingers that push kings into the abyss, and beggars onto thrones. There is no democracy, there is no chance, there is only power. And power, like the darkest wine, is not shared. It is drunk alone. I do not write these pages to teach you to be strong, nor just, nor loved. I write them so you remember, or so you have no excuse. The universe is a play written by the most conscious, and you, if you choose to embody that total consciousness, can rewrite it all of it. This is not a book for moralists, it is a grimoire, a blade of words, a torch lit at the very center of the forbidden. I was not born to obey, nor to ask. I was born to declare, to sign decrees in blood, to stare the God of your childhood in the eye, and call him servant, because there is no greater authority than aligned will, and no heaven that does not tremble, before the one who has ceased to need it. Power is not what you see in palaces, nor in banks, nor in armies. Power is internal. Power is vibrational structure. Power is presence that does not ask for permission. They have lied to you. They have domesticated you with phrases like, "Power corrupts, those who rule are lonely. Better to be humble than powerful," lies, so that you would not reclaim the throne. You left to rust within yourself, because power does not corrupt, it reveals. He who commands is not alone. He is surrounded by those who revolve around him, and misunderstood humility is just an excuse to avoid setting the world on fire with your truth. This book was not written to please you. It was written to ignite you, to burn your emotional skin, and to shatter your inherited beliefs, so that when you close the final page, you are not the same. Because if you can be the same after this, then you never had a throne. You were an echo dressed as a voice. There will be no prayers here. There will be affirmations, no supplications, only decrees. You will not be invited to think. You will be demanded to remember who you are. And if you cannot do that, drop the book now. Break this chain of ink, because what follows will not leave you untouched. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And this work is not a collection of ideas. It is a test. If you reach the end, you will either be another or dead inside. And perhaps that too is a beginning. I am Aleister Crowley, and this is not a book. It is a crown. Dare to wear it. AC, The Inner Throne, Secrets of True and Hidden Power, by Aleister Crowley. We've noticed that over 80% of those who visit our channel aren't subscribed. You can support this project by clicking the subscribe button and liking the video. Thank you for inspiring us to keep creating more and better content for you. Are you ready to transform your life? Chapter 1, The Myth of External Power. Everything begins in you. You were raised to look upward, taught that someone out there would decide for you, a god, a king, a boss, a teacher, a father. They told you power is above, far away, and in the other. And you, domesticated believer, made yourself small to survive instead of burning to rule. Listen well. Power does not come from outside. It never did, and it never will. Everything begins in you, and everything you see out there, churches, governments, systems, hierarchies, are nothing but distorted mirrors of what you have not claimed. There is no external power, only unembodied power. And the power you abandon, someone else takes and uses against you, if necessary. Do you see the leaders? Those who command armies, move crowds, and set the price of bread and the fate of millions. They are not gods. They are men who did not hesitate. Men who shouted while you prayed. Men who affirmed while you asked for permission. Power is decision, vibrant structure, embodied direction. It does not wait for you to be ready. It demands that you rise, that you take the center, that you remember the universe is obedient, but only to those who do not kneel. While you wait for signs, others manufacture them. While you seek guidance, others write the law. While you doubt, others move forward like crowned beasts, and then you wonder, Why do you obey? You obey because you gave up the fire, and because you surrendered your center, because you preferred the shadow of obedience over the solitude of command. I did not come to soothe your wounds, I came to tear them open, because if you don't bleed for your power, you will bleed for someone else's. You are the center, you are the source, you are the altar and the demon, and you are the structure holding the universe, even if you've forgotten. And as long as you don't claim that inner throne, you will keep waiting for miracles. And miracles never come to those who wait, they come to those who command. Everything begins in you, and all wealth and all expansion and all love and all war and all empire. And if you don't hold it, someone else will, and they'll charge you for it. Act now and destroy the altar where you prayed for help. Rebuild it within and inscribe upon it your name in fire. No more gods above, and no more foreign thrones, and no more if God wills. God already willed, and that God is dead. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and if your will still trembles, then die and be reborn. With a heart that does not seek approval but dictates reality, because what you do not affirm from the core does not exist, and you are here to exist, with fury, with form, and with fire. The myth of external power has ended. Everything begins in you, or everything will die with you. Chapter 2. Pure Will, the Initiate's First Sword. Before gold, before the temple, before the scepter, even before the name you give yourself, there is raw will, unjustified and unexplained, unadorned. A silent flame that does not ask, does not negotiate, and does not bend. It simply burns. Will, when real, is the Initiate's first sword. It does not cut flesh, it cuts reality. It does not kill men, and it slays illusions. You think you have will. Let's see. Does it tremble when disapproved of? Does it hide when faced with rejection? Does it bend before judgment? Then it's not will. It's desire in disguise and need-wearing makeup, hunger laced with fear. True will seeks neither pleasure nor approval, and it seeks to manifest, like thunder that asks for no permission, like lightning that makes no deals. It is animal. It is divine. It is dark and absolute. And when it awakens, everything else bows, the body, the ego, the history, the past, the rules. This is what separates the initiate from the rest. The initiate does not wait for conditions. He becomes the condition. He does not adapt to the environment. He molds it with the invisible pressure of his will. He does not ask for paths. He opens them or burns them, but he never stops. The initiate does not ask if he can, and does not ask if he should, and he does, then does more. Then rewrites the map so that what he did makes sense. Because will does not justify itself. It proves itself with every second lived as if it were ritual. Do not confuse whim with will. Whim changes, fades, gets bored. Will remains, even if you bleed to uphold it, and even if you are hated for embodying it, even if you lose everything that doesn't deserve it. You want power. You won't get it by studying more, by being nice, or by waiting for chances. You'll get it when you become pure will. Walking when the world perceives you as an embodied decree, and when your words are not opinions, but geometry bending the physical. The initiate is not the one who knows, and he is the one who wills. And he who wills with unbreakable fury is already creating, even if he doesn't realize it. I, Aleister Crowley, did not become law by being right. I became law by having will, when all others trembled, at the thought of declaring their existence as non-negotiable. By looking up at the heavens with defiance and saying, if no God holds me, then I shall become God. And you, if you want to move through this work, not just as a reader, but as a real initiate, as the author of your own story, then awaken that sword inside you, sharpen it with silence, and baptize it with rejection. Hold it without blinking. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will still needs reasons, then it has not yet been born, for pure will does not explain itself. It imposes, and in that act, in that exact instant, where the world bends before your intent, true power is born. Chapter 3. Silence, solitude, and blood, the forge of the invisible ruler. No one sees the true king when he is born. He has no crown, no castle, no army. He has silence, he has solitude, and he has blood. That is the closed trinity of the hidden initiator, the one who will rule, not with applause or votes, but with invisible structure, with a presence heavier than words, with a gaze that commands without moving. Do you think power is learned from books? Do you believe councils, rituals, or salon decrees birth it? No. Power is forged, when you can't go on, and don't break, when the world pushes you to the edge, and you become the edge, when you lose everything, and discover yourself as everything. Silence, not as absence of noise, but as suspension of the desire to be understood, as the death of the need to explain, when you no longer wish to convince anyone, but your very vibration reorganizes them from within. That silence is not weakness. It is tension, and it is salt. It is steel that needs no shine. Solitude, on the other hand, is not isolation. It is initiation, the moment when the world stops making sense, and you become the only real meaning. All great magicians and all true rulers have walked alone, have been betrayed, exiled, slandered, not as punishment, but as proof, as crucibles, as skull cracking opens so that fire may enter, and blood, not just physical, though that too. I speak of loss, of deep pain, of real surrender, of the moment when something in you must die, so something greater may be born. And what is born no longer complains, no longer begs, no longer waits. It commands and it orders, and it is. Do you want to rule without a throne? Do you want to bend reality with the strength of your field? Then embrace the forge. Embrace silence as your sword, solitude as your temple, and blood as your seal. Stop seeking witnesses. Stop begging for company. Stop fearing the night. Because he who was forged in shadow, when he steps into light, he is unseen, but all obey him. Because his vibration no longer asks for space, it occupies it. Because his body doesn't shine, it emits gravity. Because his soul does not negotiate, it imposes geometry. And I did not become the beast by wearing madness. I became it by walking through every abyss without trembling. And every time the world spat on me, I turned the spit into ink. Every time I was left alone, I lit the temple. Every time I bled, I drew a new seal upon reality. And you, if you are ready to renounce lukewarmness and approval, numb comfort, then you can become what no one sees, but everyone feels, and that is power. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will still needs company, turn back. But if you can endure the night, the silence that burns, the solitude that carves, and the blood that anoints, then walk, because you are no longer man, you are law, and law needs no name to rule. Chapter 4. Bonds of command, pleasure and possession at the center of the empire. Power is sensual. It is not cold, not mechanical, not the grey mathematics of political structures. True power vibrates from the center of the body, from the marrow, from the burning root of eros. And those who have felt it, who have commanded not just actions but souls, know that command is not punishment. It is pleasure, yes, pleasure, not the banal pleasure of solitary flesh, but that primordial joy of watching reality bend to your word, of seeing wills align with your gesture, of the invisible reorganizing itself to serve you. That pleasure is stronger than any orgasm, longer than any feast, deeper than any drug. It is command, the fire of one who shapes the world and is aroused by his creation. Do you feel guilty for enjoying power? Then you are still a slave. They trained you to associate pleasure with guilt, dominance with abuse, and desire with sin. They castrated you before you could discover that the universe was created from pleasure, not necessity, and that when you become a creator, you are a god copulating with reality, and every result you generate is a child born between your thoughts and your will. Pleasure and possession are not separate. To possess is not to accumulate, it is to inhabit, to consecrate the object or the body or the idea with your highest vibration. It is to absorb it until it ceases to be it and becomes you. And you who are reading this as if drinking sweet poison, you must understand, the pleasure of command is not a disease. It is a sign that your fire is awake. The master delights, the slave serves, and only the one who allows himself that joy without fear can rule without internal sabotage, because power without pleasure is mechanical, and pleasure without power is sterile. But power embodied in pleasure, that is the center of the empire. That is the orgasmic crown of the initiate. It's not about manipulating, it's about radiating, not about punishing, but about receiving without asking. It's about becoming the sun and letting all the planets dance around you without you having to touch them. And if someone accuses you of being egomaniacal for this, laugh. Because those who have never felt the ecstasy of true dominion will call ego anything they can't control. They'll call arrogance anything that surpasses them. They'll call perversion anything that vibrates higher than their guilt. I, Aleister Crowley, have forged empires in the bodies of initiated women, in the blood of secret pacts, in the geometry of orgasms turned into sigils. Because eros is not just flesh, it is architecture, it is command code. It is pleasure that structures will and multiplies it. And if you wish to become the gravitational center of your universe, do not repress your pleasure, consecrate it. Do not flee from your desire, turn it into direction. Do not deny your fire, make it altar, make it crown, make it empire. Do your will. That shall be the whole of the law. And if your will is to be the origin of all movement, then delight in power, because only those who delight in it can sustain it without losing themselves. And you are not here to ask permission. You are here to embody the sacred eros of one who does not dominate, because they already are. Chapter 5. Power without witnesses, the majesty that needs no stage. True power is not applauded. It doesn't need a public, and it doesn't seek an audience, because the one who needs to be seen to feel powerful was never powerful, only addicted to validation, a slave to the mirror, a puppet of others' eyes. The initiate who has touched the core of will knows that his power is not displayed. It is manifested, and even without witnesses it remains majestic, it remains absolute, and it remains law, because he does not command to be admired. He commands because he cannot do otherwise. Want to know if your power is real? Observe what happens when you're alone. Are you still fire, or do you go out without the gaze that feeds you? Do you still feel your throne vibrating beneath your feet? Or do you kneel when no one is watching? Does your will remain a decree in the night, or does it dissolve in the dark like fearful smoke? There lies the test. There lies the difference. There the masters are separated from the actors. He who needs a stage is an actor. He who commands in the void is a king. I have conjured demons in lightless rooms. I have sealed pacts with the ether without witnesses. I have signed decrees upon the marble of absolute silence. And each one of them moved realities, changed fates, bent history. Because power does not reside in the scream, but in the vibration. Not in the crowd, but in the absolute coherence of the one who is, without needing applause. The true initiate does not showcase his magic, he lives it. And his entire life becomes a perpetual spell. He doesn't need cameras, and he doesn't need approval, he doesn't need explanations, because he has left the theater behind. And theater is for those who dare not live the truth without makeup. This modern world, and the one in my time as well, though with less technology and more religious masks, is infested with false powerful men. They scream, they decorate themselves, and they write manifestos, they buy applause, but their soul trembles in silence. They cannot bear their reflection, and that is why they will never be kings. True dominion begins when you can govern yourself in the dark, when your shadow doesn't intimidate you, when the echo of your name is enough for you, because you know who you are, even if no one sees you. And that absolute knowing is the throne. You don't need to show your gold. When your mere presence prints it, you don't need to demonstrate your strength. When silence kneels as you enter, you don't need to sign your work. When the world turns by your intention, do your will. That should be the whole of the law. And if your will still depends on witnesses, then it's not yet yours. Strip away the need, empty yourself of audience, turn off the theater lights, and see if you're still standing. If your crown remains on your naked skull, then you already are the power. And what comes next will be consequence, not goal. Will be ritual, not strategy. Will be life, not performance. Chapter 6. Obey or disappear, the magnetism of natural dominion. The world is neither fair nor cruel. It is obedient, but not to your pleas, your good intentions, or your prayers dressed in weakness. The universe obeys the strongest vibration in the room, and if you are not that vibration, you disappear, not as punishment, but as consequence. Everything in nature follows this law. The lion doesn't argue with the gazelle, the storm doesn't ask the sky for permission. Will does not dialogue with what trembles, and the one who vibrates the highest, not in volume but in certainty, transforms the environment into their reflection. Want power? Then explain. Command, but first be order. You cannot command if you have not conquered your own demons. You cannot reign over others if your mind is still an invaded territory. Natural dominion is not rehearsed. It is emitted. There are men who enter a room and everybody adjusts. There are women who walk and space opens for them, not because they do something, but because they are something. They are center, they are axis, they are living structure, and you can become one of them. But to do so, you must first understand the primordial law of dominion. He who does not emit power absorbs that of others. He who does not command obeys. He who is not the center spins. There is no middle ground, no rest, no neutrality. You either make the world spin according to your will, or you spin according to someone else's. And if you decide not to take your place in the axis, don't expect life to respect you. It will ignore you, it will trample you, and it will turn you to dust, useful only to those who remembered they were gods. This is not a metaphor, this is vibrational law. Those who dominate are always the most resolved. Not the most ethical, not the most prepared, the most unwavering, the ones who don't ask for permission to burn. And that brutal magnetism, that personal gravity field, is not achieved through contests, nor lukewarm meditation, nor calendar affirmations. It is achieved with inner fire that no longer seeks validation, with presence that no longer needs narration, and with such being that others can only obey or disappear. Sounds harsh? That's because you're still waiting for justice. And justice, dear initiate, is a luxury invented by the weak to justify themselves. The universe does not reward the good. It rewards the coherent, the decided, the one who plants themselves like a mountain. And you, if you desire real dominion, must become law before trying to govern laws. Do your will shall be the whole of the law, and if your will is not the strongest in your reality, then it is not law. It is a whisper, and whispers in the temple of power are drowned out by the thunder of the one who no longer asks but simply is. Obey your fire, and then make the universe have no choice but to obey you too, because the one who has conquered their field is no longer up for debate. They are imposed, and others either obey or disappear. Chapter 7. The Art of Absolute Decision. There is no second option. A decision is not a thought, and it's not a preference. It is a lightning bolt, a cut, an act of war against doubt. And he who does not know how to decide is dead in life, even if breathing. The world is built by those who decide, not by those who reflect eternally, nor by those who analyze all variables until they faint, but by those who say, "This is," and so it is. Every time you doubt, you emit weakness. Every time you hesitate, the universe puts you on hold. Every time you consider alternatives, you divide yourself. And a divided being cannot create. It can only repeat and only serve and only survive. You are not here to survive. You are here to decree, to define, to be so clear, so immovable, that the world is forced to reconfigure itself, to uphold your certainty. Absolute decision is black magic for the system, and it is vibrational terrorism against the indoctrination of doubt, because when you decide with no return, no plan B, no safety net, something tears in the fabric of reality, and the world bends, so that what you decided has no other option but to exist. Think its arrogance, its power, the real kind, the kind that doesn't ask if it should, nor consults the collective, the kind that cuts through space like a mystical blade and carves its form into the ether, like a word that cannot be unsaid. There is no second option. That's the key. Because as long as a second option exists, there is no decision, only mental entertainment. And you didn't come here to be entertained, you came to manifest. And to manifest, you must be surgical and total, pure will, aimed without mercy. Look at the world. It's the result of millions of people who never decide, who postpone, who reevaluate, who wait for signs. And while they wait, someone else decides for them. Someone else creates their destiny. Someone else writes the script. Do you want to be the scriptwriter or the character? The scriptwriter does not wait for approval, does not consult, and does not hesitate. He writes, he signs, and what he wrote is already alive. I, Aleister Crowley, have lived and died many times through my decisions, and with each death I was reborn stronger, clearer, and more alone, more sovereign in my field, because the one who refuses to pay the price of deciding ends up paying the price of not living, and that is hell. Existence without direction, life without form, a soul without a signature. Do your will shall be the whole of the law. And if your will doubts, and it is not will, it is noise, destroy the noise, declare, close the rest of the doors, burn the options, and walk. Because only the one who walks without return conquers. And you were not created to spin in circles. You were created to cut. And every cut you make with certainty will be another crown in your empire. Chapter 8, Language of Kings. Words like swords, silences like thunder. Words are not ornaments, they are not entertainment. They are not kindness dressed in disguise, they are seals. They are weapons, they are condensed vibrational geometry. And whoever does not know how to speak does not know how to command. Do you want to know if someone has real power? Listen to how they speak, and above all, how they remain silent. Because the one who is centered, the one who has crowned their mind with fire, does not throw words randomly. Each yes is a decree. Each no is a boundary. Each pause is an invisible order. You cannot afford to speak like everyone else. You cannot use conditional emotional language. You are the incarnated verb, or you are flesh waiting for command. There is no in-between. Look at the language of the slave. I'll try, and maybe it's possible. With luck, hopefully. If God wills it, I'm afraid to fail. Chains disguised as humility, surrender masked as courtesy, cowardice in grammatical form. Now observe the language of the king. This is no more. Yes. Now, enough. And when the king says nothing and his silence weighs more than an army's speech, because his silence is not emptiness, It is charge, magnetism, a sacred space where the universe awaits instruction. The language of the king is minimalist and surgical. It does not compensate. It does not decorate. It does not embellish the truth. It fires it, and when he speaks, the environment changes. Bodies realign, the air tightens, because everyone, even the asleep, recognizes a vibration that cannot be faked. Do you dare to speak as one who commands? Then purge your vocabulary. Remove the fluff, remove the lukewarm, remove what begs for approval. Speak as one who already has, as one who already is, as one who is not negotiating, but dictating geometry from their eternal center. And when you have nothing to say, be silent. But let your silence not be emptiness, let it be presence. Let your silence vibrate like a seal sealed with fire, so that the other feels it like thunder in their marrow. Because silence also commands, and many times commands more. The initiate does not speak to fill spaces. He speaks to move realities, and if he cannot move anything with his word, he prefers silence as a sheathed sword, because he knows his word is not air. It is fire, and every word spoken without awareness is a lost spell, a shot without a target, a leak of power. I was not heard because I spoke much. I was heard because I spoke with seal, with structure, with a soul that did not negotiate its center. And you, if you want the world to hear you, do not shout. Fuse yourself with your word and become law. When you speak, be a geometer. When you are silent, be sovereign. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will still hides in lukewarm words, then it has not yet been born. Speak like a king or do not speak. Declare or disappear, because every word is a sword and every silence is the echo of a thunder that has not yet struck, but has already changed the world. Chapter 9. Inspire or intimidate, the body as a royal seal. Before you open your mouth, your body has already spoken. Before you name your intention, your spine has already emitted geometry. Before you offer wisdom, your back has already defined your value. Because the body is the first decree, the royal seal before any word. True power is not practiced in front of a mirror. It is emitted from the core, and the one who has embodied their throne transmits it effortlessly. Not by a rehearsed posture, not by aesthetics, not by artifice, but by structured vibration. There are men who walk and the crowd parts, not because they are known, but because the field commands it. There are women who sit and the atmosphere shifts, not because they shout, but because they are. You don't need to look powerful, you need to be powerful. And when you are, the body aligns by reflection, the gaze becomes a sentence, the voice turns into architecture, the walk becomes ritual, and others, though unaware, already obey you. Inspire or intimidate. There is no neutral point, there is no middle ground. You are either the center or a satellite. And if your body hesitates, and if your gesture apologizes, and if your posture shrinks, then you have already abdicated before speaking. And the universe, as always, responds not to what you desire, but to what you emit. The body of the initiate does not grovel, nor does it flaunt. It simply is, inevitable, present, a living decree. It needs no ornaments, because gold needs no paint. It does not need to impose, because fire does not shout. Do your shoulders tremble when someone looks at you? Do you struggle to hold your gaze? Do your gestures seek approval? Then you are still outside your axis. Return to the core. Reclaim the temple. Make the body your throne, not your cell. Your body is the signature that precedes your words. It is your banner, your mobile altar, your silent decree. And if you don't master it, you will be mastered. Because in the hidden language of power, the body lies less than the tongue. And everyone, even the asleep, reads what you do not say. I have entered temples and halls where my death was being conspired, and my body spoke before I did. And when it spoke, they all remembered that the abyss still walks among them with name and flesh. You can also become that living abyss, but not through gym workouts, nor through makeup, through coherence, through embodied will, through the absolute remembrance of who you are, so deeply tattooed in every cell, that the body has no choice but to obey. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and if your will no longer asks for permission to exist, then your body will no longer be decoration. It will be weapon, it will be altar, it will be seal. And others, upon seeing you, won't know whether to bow or run, because in the presence of the real, the soul recognizes its master. Chapter 10. Destroy your image. Power wears no mask. As long as you care about how you're seen, you will never be truly seen. As long as you uphold an image, you remain its slave. And the one who is a slave to their image cannot rule, not even their own shadow. The world is infected with figures, not beings. Figures who have perfected a pose, a smile, a speech, a personal brand, but tremble when no one is watching, because their power is theater, and the curtain always falls. Always. True power doesn't need image, because it doesn't represent, it emanates. It isn't designed at, it is emitted, it doesn't decorate, it burns. Do you want to become sovereign in your field? Then destroy the need to be liked. Destroy the addiction to being understood, and destroy the compulsion to be coherent. With the mask you yourself built, destroy your image, or your image will devour you. When you stop upholding appearances, something brutal and glorious is born. Your essence unadorned, your will unpainted, and yourself free of the filter of others' eyes. And that faceless being before the crowd is feared, is revered, because they cannot trap it in a category, because they cannot manipulate it with praise, because it has no fixed name, no style, no narrative to confine it. The initiate is not a character. He is a shifting flame, a living axis, a spirit that no longer acts but dictates. His face may change, but his center never does, and that's why you never lose him. Are you afraid of being inconsistent? Do you fear disappointing those who think they know who you are? Then you are still a hostage to your image. And while you are a hostage, you are no threat to the world, nor architect of your reality. You are an actor in a poor theater, waiting for applause that means nothing. I, the beast, the monster, the awakened one, was insulted, demonized, glorified, forgotten. And what did I do? I kept walking, I kept writing, I kept destroying every image they tried to project onto me. Because I did not come to please, I came to set fire. And whoever sets fire knows they will not be understood, but they will be felt. And that is the only recognition that matters. You too can stop acting. You can let go of the need for superficial coherence, and let your essence be the only thread of your existence. And then the image will fall, but the throne will rise. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will still needs to be seen in a favorable light, then it is not will, it is strategy. Destroy that strategy, and destroy it without mercy, and keep the fire, because fire does not smile, but it illuminates, and you are not here to seem like a king, you are here to be one. Without a mask, without apology, without a face, but with presence, and that is power. Chapter 11, Feed Your Shadow, the dark side as an inexhaustible source. They told you to seek the light. They invited you to vibrate higher. They forced you to smile, to forgive, to rise. Lies meant to castrate the God that lives in your gut. Lies to domesticate you. Lies to make you functional but never sovereign. The initiate who rejects their shadow forfeits 90% of their power because the hidden is not impurity. It's dynamite, and the one who knows how to contain it doesn't just survive the world, they redesign it. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your reservoir of raw energy, of unsocialized fire, of unnamed power. It holds your forbidden desires, your hidden hatreds, your silenced pleasures, your unacceptable thoughts. And when repressed, they rot. But when acknowledged, they make you a volcano, a master of reality, an architect of the invisible. I'm not telling you to obey your shadow. I'm telling you to feed it, to listen to it, to embrace it like an exiled ally who has waited 1,000 lives to be seen. And once you no longer deny it, it will serve you and give you access to places of power the pure will never reach. Because the throne isn't in the sky, it's in the center of your abyss. The one who denies their shadow lives divided, and the divided cannot govern, cannot manifest, cannot hold the fire. They break, they self-sabotage, they self-destruct right before success because they can't handle their own totality. You are not light, you are not darkness, you are the temple where both meet and kneel. And the one who inhabits that temple is invincible, for there is no part of self that must be hidden. I, Aleister Crowley, was not persecuted for my shadow. I was persecuted because I dared to feed it, because I spoke to demons without fear, because I ritualized what others repress, and because I wrote what angels censor. And that made me free, not happy, not correct. Free, I want real power. Then descend without fear into the basement of your soul. Listen. Feel, and don't flee when your monsters appear. Look at them, name them, make pacts. Because the demons you look in the eye become guardians, and the ones you hide will destroy you from within. Feed your shadow with art, with words, with pleasure, with fire, and then turn it into the raw material of your throne. And don't purify it, and transform it, and don't deny it. Dress it, and don't spy on it, console it. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and if your will does not include your shadow, then your throne is made of cardboard, and the first wind will reduce it to dust. But if you dare to walk with all that you are, to show your dark side with dignity, to live without masks or justifications, then the universe and others will know. They can no longer use you against you because there is no part of you that doesn't belong to you. And that is true power. Chapter 12. Loyalty is bought with fear or fascination. Don't be naive. Loyalty is not free. Loyalty is not free. It's not moral. It's not earned by being good. Loyalty is bought and always paid for with one currency of fear or fascination. How many have you been loyal to, and why? Was it because you loved them, because they were virtuous? No. You were loyal to those who shook you, to those you felt were larger than life, to those who imposed themselves with fire or seduced you with presence, because the human soul is not moved by arguments. It bows to whoever vibrates higher, whether through terror or wonder. Look at the general, the tyrant, the unforgettable lover, the teacher you never forgot. All of them inspire devotion, some from the blade of fear, others from the ecstasy of the sublime. But all of them make others want to stay, even if they don't understand why. You're not going to build your empire by being kind. You'll build it by learning to manipulate the emotional fire of others, without asking their permission. Think that's immoral? Then turn back. This is not your book. We did not come here to moralize. We came to rule, and ruling means knowing human nature in its raw state, not its socialized version. Fear works. It activates obedience, and it shuts the door on betrayal, but it cannot sustain itself forever. It is useful to draw borders, to declare who you are, so no one dares to touch your crown. But fascination, fascination, that is divine opium. It's the fire that hypnotizes, and it's the honey that makes souls surrender without being told to. It's the inexplicable gesture that makes others offer their lives to your cause, and not because they're afraid, but because they feel part of something greater. When they follow you, that is real magic, that is sustained dominion, that is vibrational architecture. And you, if you want true loyalty, choose your currency well. Will you instill fear, with your presence firm as a wall that doesn't move, or will you ignite fascination? With your fire, your art, your words, your abyss that seduces? Both work. Both complement each other, and the initiate who masters both is impossible to betray, because a traitor only attacks what he perceives as weak, or no longer fears. And you will be neither weak nor forgettable. You will be. You will be flame. You will be a living structure of power. Loyalty is not noble, it is useful. It is alchemical, and it is cultivated with intention, not with hope. Don't expect loyalty. If you haven't defined the emotional field you inhabit, don't expect to be followed. If you're not a vortex, don't expect respect. If you don't inspire fear or glory, neutrality does not generate devotion. It generates indifference, and the indifferent are already dead. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and if your will is to build an empire, then sow fear at the borders, and fascination at the center. Be the wall that no one crosses and the temple everyone longs to dwell in, because the one who masters the emotional fire of his surroundings, without losing his own center, no longer needs to ask for loyalty. He receives it as tribute, as law, as the inevitable geometry of the human soul, when it recognizes its king. Chapter 13. Rituals of Supremacy. Real magic to seal your throne. It's not enough to have power. You must ritualize it, seal it, embody it in living action. Power doesn't dwell in ideas. It endures in the gesture and in the action charged with intention, in the rite that engraves the geometry of your unbreakable will into the invisible. Do you think the ancient kings crowned themselves out of protocol? No. They ritualized to remind the universe who ruled, so that gods and men could feel that signature vibrating, as a seal on the astral plane. And if you want to sustain the throne you're building, you can't leave it in words. You must anchor it in action. You must turn your will into ceremony. I'm not talking about theater. I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about real magic and high magic. Acts filled with symbol, with internal blood, with absolute decision. Acts that the universe cannot ignore, because they don't arise from the mind. They are born from the center, from the nucleus, from the nameless temple. Do you want to rule? Then ritualize your presence. Every time you enter a place, do it as if you were consecrating it. Every word of yours is a seal, every silence an invocation, every movement a decree. Do not walk like a human, walk like the geometry of embodied will. Make altars where no one sees, make pacts with yourself. Declare at dawn that your throne is non-negotiable. Don't wait for dates, don't wait for moons. You are the calendar, you are the eclipse, you are the conjunction. A ritual is any act repeated with brutal intention. Drinking tea can be a rite. Getting dressed can be a rite. Staying silent can be a rite, as long as you do it from the throne, as long as you know the act is not mundane. It is magical, it is signature, it is architecture. The initiate does not live on autopilot. They live as the priest of their own will, and that's why every day is a ceremony. And that's why their field doesn't weaken, because it is sealed by invisible rituals that most will never know how to read. I have done rituals with blood, with semen, with earth, with words carved into the marrow of time, not out of tradition, but because I knew that each seal made me more real in the eye of the universe. And you, if you want your throne to not be symbolic, but inevitable, you must ritualize it. Create your seals and do not copy mine, and mine are mine. Create gestures that make the ether tremble when repeated. Create words that, when spoken, align matter. Create acts no one else understands, but your soul recognizes as a trace of fire. Do your will shall be the whole of the law, and your will without ritual is just desire and its mood. But when your will dresses as ceremony, it becomes law, written in the body of time, and once time is marked by your fire, it can no longer deny you. Make your life a temple and each day a perpetual enthronement, because you weren't made to appear powerful, but to ritualize supremacy, until there is no other option but to obey you from the flesh, from the soul, from the universe itself. Chapter 14, Gods Who Dress as Men. How power inhabits the invisible. Most believe gods dwell in the heavens, in distant temples, in ethereal dimensions. They ignore the most feared heresy. By every true religion, gods walk among men, and some don't even know it. You were taught to look up and to beg, to imagine that power descends from above. But the initiate who has crossed the threshold knows this. True power does not descend, it awakens. An embodied God doesn't perform miracles. They perform geometry. They don't ask for faith. They radiate certainty, and they don't promise heaven. They make reality bow to their vibration. And the most terrifying truth, for the structures that govern the world, is this: any man who remembers his divinity becomes a real threat to invisible empires. Because a God who has embodied himself can no longer be controlled, and he does not respond to rewards. He does not fear punishment. He does not seek approval. He is axis, he is decree, he is walking law. But beware, do not confuse this divinity with empty arrogance. The true embodied God does not need to be worshipped. He doesn't seek temples, and he doesn't beg for followers. He inhabits his body, as if it were a lightning bolt dressed in flesh, and his power is not seen, and it is felt. He doesn't shout, he presses, he doesn't impose, he simply is, like a seal, that the universe recognizes and obeys. History is full of these beings. Some were kings, and others poets, and others witches, and others criminals, but all had one thing in common: their presence bent reality, even if they had no crown, even if they had no name, even if they were hated by those who still sleep. You, reader of this forbidden gospel, can become one of them, not by inherited magic, not by borrowed ritual, but for one reason only: because you decide to remember. Remember that you were not created to worship. You were created to embody, and in that act, the most blasphemous act for the sleeping ones, lies the doorway to the invisible. The gods do not need form, but when they choose to inhabit one, they do so without apology. And when that happens, the world changes, systems tremble, lies collapse, laws are rewritten, matter reorganizes. Because the embodied God does not rule through violence. He rules through absolute coherence, and that coherence needs no arguments. It is fire that cannot be debated. Aleister Crowley. I did not kneel before any god, because when I looked in the mirror I saw him. Because when I opened the circle I did not invoke, I recovered. And when I walked the earth knew. It was being inhabited by fire and in human form, and do your will shall be the whole of the law. And if your will is to remember that you too can be a living temple, then rise, not from the flesh, but from the center you forgot. Walk as if every step preserved the world. Speak as if your voice defined the architecture of the universe, and be silent like one who carries the roar of the ages in their blood. The gods are not above, they are here, dressed in skin, looking like you, feeling like you, but being much more than you. For now, chapter 15, death is not the end, it is the final test of the king. Slaves fear death, the profane deny it, moralists sweeten it, cowards pray for it. But the king, the initiate, the true master of his throne, looks death in the eyes and does not blink, because he knows that death is not the end. It is the ultimate test, the soul's examination. It is the verdict that reveals whether you ruled or acted, whether you reigned or pretended, whether you were incarnated will or merely an echo seeking validation. Everything you call power, everything you built, everything you admired about yourself in the mirror will be devoured by the jaws of the abyss. And when it is all gone, when your body no longer obeys you, when the mask falls Only one burning question will remain. Was it you or was it someone else? Did you live as a throne or as a subject to your fears? The initiate does not fear death because he has already died 1,000 times in life. He has died when he chose his will over safety, when he chose his fire over comfort, when he said no and lost everything except his soul. I have died many times, not only in body, but also in identity, desire, and path. And in each death I did not lose power. I multiplied it because the one who lets himself burn is reborn as pure alchemy. Do you think your throne is secure if you breathe? Fool, the throne is only legitimate if you hold it beyond the body, if you can reign also at the threshold, also in the void, also when everything falls apart, and you remain. Death is not punishment. It is a mirror, a ritual, the final coronation ceremony. And if you do not face it with your head held high, with the gaze of one who no longer asks for extra time but demands eternity by decree, then you never reigned. You just occupied space. You just survived, adorned. True power does not die because it is not body. It is vibration signed in the ether. It is geometry of will that leaves a mark in the quantum field. It is a symbol that persists when the flesh is dust. That's why I say, don't wait to die to live. Die every day to what no longer vibrates with you. Die to your past. Die to your image. Die to the I that kneels, and stay only with the one who commands, with the one who transcends, with the one who cannot be destroyed. Make your will the only law, and if your will trembles before death, then it is not will, it is pretension, it is make-up, it is noise. But if you can look at death as an ally, as an initiator, as the Black Queen who demands brutal authenticity from you, then she will respect you and perhaps even bow down, because only the true king walks toward her without lowering his gaze, and in doing so, he does not die. He consecrates himself. Chapter 16. Power is not asked, it is stolen, burned, enclosed. If you are still waiting for power to be handed to you, you will never have it. If you still believe there is someone out there who will grant it to you, you are asleep, and the asleep do not rule. They are ruled. Power is not asked for, it is not begged for, it is not pleaded for with good intentions or accumulated merits. Power is taken, ripped from the hands of the weak, stolen from the altar of the cowards, extracted from the silence of those who doubt. Because where there is hesitation, there is space for fire, and you are not here to wait your turn. You are here to become the turn, the voice that breaks in, the figure who needs no invitation, the thief who does not flee with the loot but sits on the throne and never gets up. They told you that you should prepare more, accumulate diplomas, humble yourself, lies, programming to keep you obedient. The true initiate does not wait, he infiltrates, imposes himself, becomes structure where there was once absence. Stealing power is not a crime, it is restoration. It is remembering that you were born with the crown, but they made you doubt it. And now, to reclaim it, it is not enough to ask for it. You must burn the false temple where you handed it over, and then enclose the power, yes, in your field. Do not waste it on explanations, justifications, or social validation. Your power is not for convincing, it is for reigning. Hold it like an inner dagger. Protect it from eyes that trivialize everything. Enclose the power, not out of fear, but out of respect. Because the sacred is not shared, it is emitted, and he who recognizes it aligns, and he who does not gets burned. The world is full of corpses with expensive suits, with titles, with microphones, but true power makes no noise. It resonates. It does not show itself, it imposes itself. It is not negotiated, it is established. I did not ask permission to be the beast. I declared myself as such, and in doing so, I became the figure that the temples could not ignore or destroy. And you, if you want to be something more than an actor in the human theater, you must steal the script. You must burn the stage. You must enclose yourself in the center of your will and declare that this center is the only kingdom that matters, and govern it without witnesses, without adornments, without doubts. Make your will the only law, and if your will still waits for approval, then it is not will, it is domesticated desire. Break it, take it, burn it, enclose your power as one encloses a god in the chest, and do not release it until the universe has recognized you or feared you, whichever comes first. Chapter 17. Make yourself law. When your will governs the plane without debate, who decides what is real? Who dictates the boundary between yes and no, between the possible and the impossible, between the allowed and the sacred? The one who doubts doesn't know, the one who follows rules ignores it, but the one who burns from the core embodies it. Because there is only one truth on this plane. The one who vibrates higher is law. Make yourself law, not as a decree that is shouted, but as architecture that imposes itself. Make yourself law, not because you are right, but because your existence no longer needs discussion. Do not negotiate your fire, do not explain your throne, do not ask for approval to reign, simply reign. When you speak and the world trembles, when you enter and the air shifts, when you desire and the field organizes itself, that is not charisma, that is living law, that is embodied power, that is reality folding before its new form. But to get there, to stop being noise and become structure, you must abandon the comfort of I think, I believe, I suppose, and start speaking as one who defines, as one who signs, as one who leaves no space for chance. The universe does not respond to questions. It responds to forms, to geometries. There are wills that do not waver, which is why the gods do not ask, they command. And you, if you remember you are one, cannot continue speaking as a human in committee. You must speak as principle, walk as symbol, decide as one who has already written the outcome. Make yourself law means your field no longer negotiates, adapts, or surrenders. It only establishes, and those who enter it either elevate or burn, but they no longer debate. It is tyranny, not absolute clarity, and the world begs for that clarity, even if it doesn't know it. The lukewarm seek leaders, the broken seek vertices, the slaves seek someone to tell them what is real. And if you do not do it, another will cry out, and perhaps that other does not have fire, only a mask. Make yourself law in your word. Make yourself law in your body. Make yourself law in your desire. Make yourself law in your gaze, and watch as the universe bends without the need for violence. Because law does not shout, law does not beg, law simply obeys. I did not make myself law for them to obey me. They obeyed me because I was already law, because everything I wrote, everything I pronounced, everything I desired emanated without contradiction. It was pure will without interference from what others might say. And you, if you've come this far, know you are not here to follow rules. You are here to be the rule. You are here to dictate from the marrow. You are here to be the structure that reorganizes realities. Make your will, and it will be all the law. And if your will is law, then you no longer wait for the world to give you space. You occupy it, redefine it, seal it with your fire, and leave it vibrating to your rhythm. Because the initiate who has embodied their crown no longer asks, they emit. And the universe, feeling that emission without cracks, responds as it always has, bending, kneeling, rewriting itself until everything says one thing, here reigns one law, and that law is you. Chapter 18, Masters are not born, they are made. In silence and pain, masters are made. Forget the romantic idea of destiny. There are no chosen ones, no privileged birth, no lineage that grants you power. Masters are not born, they are made, and the material of their creation is neither light nor glory, but silence and pain. No one speaks of this because true power has no witnesses. It is cultivated in internal burrows, carved in the darkness, forged in solitude so dense that even the gods lower their gaze. There, in that place where there are no answers, where the echo does not respond, where the soul is left nameless, that is where the true master is born, or the attempt dies. Pain is not punishment. It is the crucible. It is the fire that melts your old identity, your inherited weakness, your domesticated image, and makes something emerge that no longer depends on the world to be the master. It is the one who survived their own annihilation and rebuilt themselves without witnesses, without applause, without guidance. It is the one who walked through the valley of their own hell, and upon returning, no longer asked, but ordered, because they had lost everything and still were. I was not born a master. I was broken, exiled, hated, forgotten, and in every wound, in every night without fire, I became stronger, not from pride, but because there was no other choice. Because being weak was no longer an option. Because if I didn't become law, I would die, and dying without fire is the only sin. You too can make your throne, but it won't be in the lights, in the classrooms, on the networks, or in the crowds. It will be in your abyss, in your most silent hour, when no one answers, and yet you don't remain silent. When everything breaks and you stand, even if you bleed, even if it hurts, even if you don't understand. That silent persistence, that decision to keep carving your crown with the fragments of your ruin. That is what makes you a master. Not your knowledge, not your charisma, but your silent resistance to collapse. The world wants leaders who do not break, but it does not understand that these leaders are the ones who have already broken 1,000 times. And in each break, they discovered a truth that made them invulnerable. Power is not found, it is built. It is torn from the bone, sculpted by blows, and in the end it cannot be taken away. Make your will and it will be all the law. And if your will still needs to not hurt, then you are not ready. But if you can love pain as a sign of evolution, if you can make silence your home, if you can walk among ruins with your gaze fixed on your throne, then you are already on your way. And that path is the one taken by the few who do not want to be seen. They want to be obeyed, and they succeed because they were not made. They made themselves. Chapter 19. When the world trembles at the sight of you, the day when power no longer hides everything you have gone through, the pain, the exile, the contempt, the silent forging, was not punishment. It was construction. It was the preparation for an inevitable day, the day when you can no longer hide because the world will begin to tremble when it sees you. Not for spectacle, not for fame, not for exhibition, but because your field will be so clear, so pure, so solid, that simply inhabiting a space will make that space change forever. You don't choose this day. Your vibration does. It is called by your fire, and when it arrives, there is no turning back. No more anonymity, no more safe mediocrity, only crown or abyss, only throne or war, only presence or disappearance. Animals will feel you. Children will know you by their gaze. Adults will either hate you or follow you, not for what you say, but for what you emit. Because power, when it stops hiding, becomes gravitational law. You will not ask for attention. It will be given to you. You will not seek respect. It will be inevitable. You will not beg for space, you will create it with the mere curvature of your presence. And if anyone doubts you, they will doubt themselves before confronting you, because something deep within the human soul recognizes the one who no longer pretends, the one who is, the one who burns without permission. But be careful. That day is not comfortable. That day is war. That day is the renunciation of everything small, of every justification, of every social mask, because you will no longer be able to disguise your fire or numb your essence. You will be pure visibility, and with it comes confrontation. Not everyone will applaud. Many will try to extinguish you, but it will be too late, because when the world trembles at the sight of you, it is because you can no longer lie to it or lie to yourself. No more negotiations with the shadow, no more shared identities. Only you, as principle, as axis, as law. I felt that day. I saw it in their eyes. Fear disguised as hatred, attraction disguised as contempt, admiration disguised as criticism. And I, with the weight of knowing myself inevitable, kept walking because true power doesn't stop to convince, it simply burns. And those who can't bear its light will burn. Do you want that day? Do you want reality to kneel without you raising your voice? Then keep polishing your will in the night. Keep sharpening your throne in the shadows. Keep dying until nothing remains that is not you. And when you no longer have an image, nor need, nor fear, nor desire to be understood, you will be visible like a storm that doesn't announce itself, like a God who doesn't ask, like a presence that can no longer be ignored. Do your will, and it will be all the law. And if your will is to live without hiding your fire, prepare to see the world surrender or burn. But do not stop, because if you already vibrate like a throne, the world has no choice but to bow or disappear. Chapter 20. The throne is internal. The universe obeys the one who does not tremble. Do not seek the throne outside. You will not find it in titles, in heritages, in stages. The true throne is not made of gold. It is made of certainty and sits deep within the being, where no doubts, excuses, or fears cloaked in prudence can remain. Who sits on that invisible, absolute, and unyielding throne? They need no symbols to be recognized. They need no oaths, no crowns, no witnesses. They only need one thing: to never tremble, neither in chaos nor in glory, neither in death nor before themselves. That is the true king, the one who no longer breaks, the one who has fused his will with the core of the universe, and that is why he no longer asks for reality to listen. Reality obeys him because he no longer emits desire. He emits structure. He doesn't imagine, he declares, and every cell in the cosmos organizes to fulfill his sentence. Do you want to know if you found your throne? Observe and tremble. When there is fear, you are not sitting yet. When there is a need to convince, you are still standing. When there is anger for not being seen, you are still seeking the castle, and the castle is within. It was always yours. It was just waiting for you to claim it, without negotiating, without hesitating, without asking for permission. I inhabited that throne, and that's why my enemies knelt even when they cursed me, because the human soul, even the most corrupt, recognizes the one who no longer moves, the one who doesn't respond, the one who simply is. There is no more powerful temple than a will that does not tremble. There is no stronger amulet than a gaze that seeks no validation. There is no more absolute spell than silence, in which the universe listens to itself obeying you, because you are no longer trying to dominate the world. You are ruling your center, and in doing so, you rule everything. Everything external is a reflection. Everything material is dry. And if your throne is within, if you have carved it with fire, with blood, with solitude, then you can walk like a storm without raising your voice. The profane want to control circumstances. The weak want to change others. The desperate want to manipulate time. But you, if you are here, if you've made it to the end of this work, already know, the universe is a mirror and the mirror doesn't lie. The universe obeys the one who does not doubt, the one who does not fragment, the one who has made of themselves an unbreakable structure. Do your will and it will be all the law, and if your will no longer trembles, if it no longer negotiates, if it no longer adapts to be loved, then you are already on your throne, and you need do nothing more because the one who is in their center is law, is living geometry, is embodied word. And when they speak or remain silent, the universe responds, not by faith, not by magic, but by natural obedience. Because before an internal throne all else kneels, or Aleister Crowley.